In June 1978, a forest ranger unlocked a trailer in the remote Sierra Nevada mountains and found a man lying dead inside. He was wrapped in 8 sheets. There was a working propane heater beside him, with a full tank of fuel. There were dozens of cans of food in the cabinets, all untouched. He had starved to death over the course of 13 weeks. And he was one of 5 friends who had simply gone to watch a basketball game 4 months earlier. This is the story of the Yuba County Five, and nothing about it makes sense. February 24, 1978. Yuba City, California. 5 young men, Gary Mathias, age 25, Jack Madruga, age 30, Ted Whiter, age 32, Bill Sterling, age 29, and Jack Hewitt, age 24, piled into Madruga's turquoise 1969 Mercury Montego and drove roughly 50 miles south to the campus of California State University, Chico. They were going to watch a college basketball game. All 5 men were part of a local group called the Gateway Projects, a program for adults with mild psychiatric or intellectual disabilities. They had their own basketball team and were good. They had a game of their own the very next day, a game they had been looking forward to for weeks. By all accounts, that Friday night was completely normal. They watched UC Davis defeat Cal State Hayward. Witnesses at the game confirmed the 5 men were in good spirits. After the game ended around 10 p.m., they stopped and bought snacks, candy bars, milk, soft drinks. Receipts confirmed the purchase. They got back in the car. Home was less than an hour's drive on a straight, well-lit highway. They never arrived. Not one of them. And when authorities finally found their car, it wasn't anywhere near the road home. It was 70 miles in the wrong direction, on a mountain road at 4,000 feet elevation, in an area none of them had any known reason to visit. The car was in perfect working condition. There was gas in the tank. The snacks were still inside. So what made 5 men abandon a working car in freezing mountain terrain in the middle of the night? That question has haunted investigators for over 45 years. But here's where it gets strange, because that's only the beginning. The Mercury Montego was discovered on February 28, 4 days after the men disappeared, parked on a dirt logging road called Rogers Cow Camp, in the Plumas National Forest. The road climbs into rugged, snow-covered terrain. The car was stuck, not broken down, but lodged in a snowbank. Investigators confirmed the wheels were undamaged, the engine ran fine, and with a simple push or some basic maneuvering, the car could have been freed. Yet all 5 men had walked away from it. Now, let me tell you about something critical. A man named Joseph Shans, a 55-year-old resident of Berry Creek, told police he had been on that same mountain road the night of February 24. His own car had gotten stuck. He said that sometime around midnight, he saw headlights pull up behind him. He called out for help. Instead of responding, the headlights went dark. He then heard voices, several people talking, and what he described as a woman screaming. He also noticed a second vehicle, a pickup truck, that he hadn't seen before. He called out again. No one answered. Eventually, the cold triggered a mild heart attack, and Shans crawled into his car to survive the night. By morning, the other vehicles were gone. Was Shans describing the Yuba County Five? The timeline matches. The location matches. But who was in the pickup truck? And whose scream did he hear? None of the 5 men were women. No woman was ever identified as being present. Police investigated Shans but could never confirm or deny his account. Here's what we know happened next, or rather, what we can piece together from what searchers found months later. The 5 men walked up the mountain. On foot. Into snow. In sneakers and light jackets. Temperatures that night dropped below 15 degrees Fahrenheit. They walked past the point where the road was navigable. They walked past any logical turnaround point. They walked nearly 20 miles up the mountain to an elevation of almost 6,000 feet. In June 1978, 4 months after the disappearance, the snow finally melted enough for search teams to push deeper into the wilderness. What they found was disturbing. The body of Ted Weiher was discovered inside a U.S. Forest Service trailer at a location called Rogers Cow Camp, a remote emergency shelter. He was lying in a bed, wrapped in 8 sheets that had been pulled from storage in the trailer. His shoes were missing. His feet were severely frostbitten, so badly that gangrene had set in. A window had been broken to gain entry. And here is the detail that has baffled everyone who has ever studied this case: the trailer was stocked with food. Canned goods. Sea rations. Enough to sustain several people for weeks, possibly months. There was a fully functional propane heater with a full fuel tank. Matches were available. Weiher used none of it. He ate nothing. He lit nothing. The coroner estimated he survived between 8 and 13 weeks inside the trailer before dying of starvation and exposure. Why? Why would a man slowly starve to death surrounded by food? Why would he freeze when warmth was within arm's reach? Outside the trailer, searchers found the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling. Their bodies were discovered in the snow, roughly 11 miles from the abandoned car, at different points along the road leading to the trailer. They had died of hypothermia. Both were found face down. Jack Hewitt's remains were found nearby in August, after further snowmelt. He too had died of exposure. Gary Mathias was never found. Not his body. Not his belongings. Nothing. He simply vanished. To this day, 46 years later, Gary Mathias has never been located, dead or alive. Now, Mathias is a complicated figure in this story. He was the only one of the 5 with a notably different background. He was a Vietnam veteran who had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and had a history of drug use, though friends and family said he had been stable and taking his medication consistently in the months before the disappearance. Some investigators theorized Mathias may have suffered a psychotic break that night and led the others, men who were generally trusting and compliant by nature, into the wilderness against their own instincts. But there is zero evidence this happened. Others have suggested the group was followed or forced off the road by someone in that mysterious pickup truck Sean's described. What would you have done if you were in that car? Would you have stayed? Would you have walked? And in which direction? There's one more detail. Inside the Forest Service trailer, searchers found something odd. Weiher's shoes had been neatly removed and placed beside the bed. The sheets were carefully wrapped around him. Some investigators believe this means someone else, possibly Mathias, survived long enough to care for Weiher in his final days, then left. But left to go where? And why didn't that person light the heater or open the food? No signs of foul play were found on any of the 4 recovered bodies. No evidence of assault. No indication of a struggle at the car. The keys were gone. The snacks sat on the seat like the men expected to come right back. So what actually happened to the Yuba County Five? The theories range from the plausible to the conspiratorial. Some believe Shanza's pickup truck held someone dangerous, someone who chased or threatened the men, driving them into the wilderness in a panic. Others believe Mathias experienced a psychiatric episode and the group, accustomed to following direction and trusting authority, simply followed him without question into the freezing dark. A few have speculated about drug activity in the area or even foul play that was never properly investigated. The Yuba County Sheriff's Department at the time called it the most baffling case they had ever encountered. But none of these theories explain everything. They don't explain why the car was abandoned when it could have been freed. They don't explain why Weiher starved next to a cabinet full of food. They don't explain the woman's scream. And they absolutely do not explain what happened to Gary Mathias. 4 men are dead. 1 man is gone. The basketball game they were supposed to play the next morning went on without them. Their teammates waited at the court. Nobody came. 46 years later, the mountains still haven't given up their secret. Do you think they were running from something? Or walking towards something they didn't understand? This has been Obscura Files. If this case unsettles you the way it unsettles us, leave your theory in the comments, we read every single one. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. Because some mysteries don't fade with time. They only get darker. We'll see you in the next one.